my Bahama land, yeah. Friends in every place, a smile on every face. Children at play, time with family today. Someone fill my plate, homemade bread, I can't wait. I can't get enough, I will always stay in touch with my Bahama land, yeah.
Rare Voice introduces Bahamaland, an unlimited nationwide calling plan for only $5 a month. So call home today and connect again with Bahamaland. Home never felt so close.
My Bahama land, yeah.
The state finance minister doesn't think the VAT messenger should be fired because of his tax arrears.
The gentleman has gone through a lot, all right?
The latest reveal of the VAT messenger's arrears, another blow for the Christie administration, according to the opposition. Police back on 12-hour shifts, the financial state of the Bahamas Electricity Corporation, and the Christie administration's housing program set to begin. We have those stories and more coming up tonight. Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Christina McNeil, and your MB12 starts right now. Joining us. The Prime Minister has remained silent on the issue of value-added tax messenger Ishmael Lightbourne's tax status. And despite calls from members of the opposition for Lightbourne to be fired for the many thousands of dollars he owes government in back taxes, the State Minister for Finance today stood by the Ministry of Finance's consultant, saying he does not believe Lightbourne should be fired in the wake of the firestorm of controversy surrounding his tax arrears.
I think it's it's negative for him. I'm sure he's going through a great deal to be pilloried in the public like he is, we just encourage everybody who is outstanding to come and make arrangements. If you can't do everything, at least put in place an arrangement. But I don't think he should be removed. As a matter of fact, the fact that he is employed, there's a better chance that the government would get some of what is owed. If he's removed, we have very little chance of collecting anything.
Today, the Nassau Guardian revealed that Lightbourne owes more than $100,000 in taxes on a commercial property. That money accrued over the past 20 years on his commercial property in Palmdale. Last week, the Guardian also revealed that Lightbourne had not paid real property taxes on his West Bay Street waterfront home in at least a decade. Speaking to NB12 today, Halkitis did not want to comment specifically on Lightbourne's tax status. However, he said the consultant has gone through a lot.
Of course, people would react when you have a spokesman of the government who, the information is published that he is in arrears. But what I would like to explain to the Bahamian people as well is the importance of tax reform, in that the real property tax represents it can represent a significant burden to individuals and to businesses.
Lightbourne has been the face of the VAT message, lecturing Bahamians on the need to implement VAT and pay outstanding taxes. Halkitis says, according to the Ministry of Finance's records, about $500 million is outstanding in taxes. He says Lightbourne is not responsible for all of that, so the ministry is doing what it can to encourage all residents in arrears to pay up. But he says it has brought to light another issue on the road to tax reform, the increasing value of property owned by people who find themselves on fixed incomes.
If you can imagine an individual in this Bahamas who would have purchased a piece of property 40 years ago at a very cheap price, and now when that property is valued, if you look at it in the east or even in the west, a property that might have been purchased 30, 40 years ago for $20,000 is now worth $180,000. And now that individual who is now 70, 65 or whatever, perhaps retired, all of a sudden a property that they purchased a long time ago for low price, it's valued at almost $200,000 when you put the house in.
Halkitis says that's a significant problem that government has been examining for some time to bring relief to people in that category. Although State Finance Minister Michael Halkitis says VAT Coordinator Ishmael Lightbourne's tax delinquency won't affect the government's value-added tax campaign, opposition leader Dr. Hubert Minnis thinks otherwise. Dana Smith reports.
Minnis said this latest revelation is just another blow and a further embarrassment to the government's VAT campaign, and he once again called on the government to deal with the situation.
Is the government prepared to deal with its own? Is the government prepared to enforce laws? If the government is not prepared to deal with its own, the government is not prepared to enforce laws, then what the hell we doing in Parliament passing laws?
It was revealed Lightbourne owes more than $100,000 in taxes on a commercial property he owns through a Mount Royal Avenue company. This comes after a previous revelation that Lightbourne hasn't paid property taxes on his home in more than a decade. Minnis shied away from directly calling for Lightbourne's resignation, but said Lightbourne's delinquency and status as a government VAT coordinator makes things difficult.
It's very difficult to be leading a particular process when you yourself is guilty. It's very difficult to ask the populace to pay taxes to help improve the economic condition of the country when you yourself is not paying.
Minnis called for Lightbourne to pay his taxes and explained his call also extends to other members of government. He again demanded the release of tax statuses of all MPs and senators. As for the sitting members of his own party, Minnis said,
All F&M MPs are paid up. All are paid up.
This comes after Labor and National Insurance Minister Shane Gibson threatened to reveal the tax status of past and present F&M government officials. Minnis says he's unbothered by the threat.
You're talking about Gibson exposing this one and next and past MPs? I don't care. The only way you're going to clean up a country is let the chips fall where they may. Who's guilty? Fine. Let the chips fall where they may. Release all. I don't care.
Reporting for NB12, I'm Dana Smith.
Well, two men appearing in a magistrate's court today arraigned for the murder and armed robbery of a man who was shot to death in Exuma earlier this month. In court today, the pair's lawyer alleged their clients have been subject to death threats emanating from inmates at Her Majesty's prison. Jasmine Bonamy has more in this report.
Today inside court, lawyers from both men making it clear that their clients were allegedly receiving death threats from within prison walls. 27-year-old Dimitri Roll of Forest Exuma, seen here in the black shirt, and 18-year-old Giordano Roll Jr. of Ramsey Exuma, seen here in the striped shirt, were charged with the February 18th murder of Dwayne Finnegan, also known as Dwayne Nixon. Both men were also charged with robbing Finnegan of a gold chain, gold watch, and money before shooting him several times. According to initial police reports, Finnegan was at home along with another man when two men armed with handguns entered the residence. Police said one of the suspects shot the victim several times before fleeing on foot. The 23-year-old was pronounced dead at the scene by the island's local doctor. In court today, the pair's attorney Krista Smith and Michael Kemp told Deputy Chief Magistrate Andrew Forbes that their clients have been receiving death threats, indicating that if the men were placed in maximum security, they were dead. Roll's attorney Michael Kemp told the court Roll alleged he was beaten and forced to sign documents against his will in custody. Both attorneys asked that their clients be assessed by a doctor before entering the prison population and be given some consideration regarding the section of the prison they were remanded to. Forbes said the court had no authority over where people were placed in prison. However, the deputy chief magistrate said he would send a letter to the superintendent of the prison indicating the concerns expressed. He agreed to allow both men to be assessed by a doctor and said the allegations of brutality while in custody would be looked into. Kemp also requested to be provided with Roll's custody records. The matter was adjourned to March 10th. Reporting for NB12, I'm Jasmine Bonamy.
After months of fighting to put an end to the 12-hour shift, police again today find themselves working extended hours. Police Staff Association Chairman Inspector Dwight Smith confirmed the reinstatement to NB12. Smith said he was surprised that a decision was made to put police back on 12-hour shifts without consultation of the PSA and called it ridiculous. Smith says the executives of the association intended to meet with their lawyer Wayne Monroe on the issue today. He said Monroe will speak for the association following that, and the association hasn't gotten anything in writing. He says he and his team only found out after officers called today to inform them. Minister of National Security Dr. Bernard Nottage initially announced the 12-hour shifts in September. His announcement triggered an outcry among officers who soon began to complain about exhaustion and the lack of compensation. Police were placed on the 12-hour shift as part of the government's crime plan following a spate of violent crime. During the week prior, 12 people were murdered in 13 days. After months of agitation, Smith reported the extended shift ended in November. The association is still seeking compensation for the months of overtime officers worked while the shift was in use. Smith estimated that police officers are owed millions of dollars in compensation. And police making another big drug bust in the capital today. Reports are that around 6 a.m., officers executed a search warrant at a residence through South Beach Drive in South Beach. Police say that while conducting that search, they uncovered 512 pounds of marijuana in a Honda vehicle. Police seized the drugs and took 6 people into custody, 2 39-year-old men, 1 24-year-old man, 1 47-year-old man, 1 35-year-old woman, and a 35-year-old woman. Earlier this week, police busted 800 pounds of marijuana at Seabreeze Canal. Coming up, BEC remains strapped for cash.
Right now it's suffering. Our accounts receivable right now is around $125 million.
And a little later, the latest on affordable housing for Bahamians. Find out more when MB12 returns.